So after the first episode of Spider-Man, the animated series that came out in November 1994, we would not see the second episode till February 4th, 1995. But depending on what era you lived, you might have seen this second episode or the sting of the Scorpion, which is actually the sixth episode of the series. But today we're going to focus on the official second episode of the series, The Spider Slayer. The story, of course, is once again written by John Semper Jr. and Stan Berkowitz. This is one of the essential episodes of the series that introduced several big-time key players that became a force of nature towards Spider-Man and also introduced new supporting characters as well, such as Felicia Hardy, who was voiced by Jennifer Hale, who is best known for her roles in video games like Mass Effect, Metal Gear Solid, BioShock Infinite, and the Star Wars and numerous cartoon series like Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, The Powerpuff Girls, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and plenty other Disney projects that I cannot cover them all right now. She's one of the most prolific voice actors in the industry. We also get the first appearance of Alistair Smythe, voiced by Maxwell Caulfield, best known for his roles in films like Grease 2, Empire Records, and All My Children. And first appearance of the Kingpin, voiced by late legendary Shakespearean actor Roscoe Lee Brown, known for his rich voice and dignified bearing, and been in countless TV shows. And of course Eddie Brock, who is now a series regular, voiced by Hank Azaria, who you guys might know for voicing various characters from The Simpsons. And we also get introduced a few other characters that are important to Spider-Man's history, such as Flash Thompson, who is usually portrayed as Spider-Man's fanboy and an enemy to Peter Parker. Harry Osborn, son of Norman Osborn and Peter's friend. And Norman Osborn himself, who would of course later become Spider-Man's greatest enemies. And like the first episode in the series, it takes inspirations from the comics, such as Amazing Spider-Man issue number 5, where we see Flash Thompson dress up as Spider-Man, who actually gets attacked. This episode established to tell a long-form story that we would inevitably see as a bunch of these characters end up in a comic book counterpart's shoes, so people can notice to what they're trying to do. Also, the series took some liberties, specifically Felicia Hardy, one of the most noticeable ones, as her entire back history and her relationship to her father changed in this cartoon. She never had a rich life, as she was portrayed in this. In comics, she was actually a victim of rape, so you obviously tell why they want to shy away from that in this. This episode would also feature first-time things. The first appearance to web cartridges, the first time Oscorp gets destroyed, and the first time Spider-Man's webbing runs out, which is crucial to Spider-Man's stories to create more tension around the character. And this episode even featured the first mention of Mary Jane Watson, who Peter is trying to avoid going to a blind date with. So as this episode begins, we see it's regular night and Spidey is out on patrol in New York, until suddenly he is attacked by small flying robots. Spider-Man manages to take out a few robots. However, the remaining robots attempt to box Spider-Man into a corner. Fortunately, Spider-Man is able to make two of the robots hit each other and explode. Then we see the operation was run by 3 people, and the man that is funding everything, Norman Osborn, Spencer Smythe, the brains behind the operation, and Alistair Smythe, his younger son, who is paralyzed from the waist down.
Fail, Smythe.
My father is the world's foremost expert in the field of robotics, Mr.
As Norman is yelling at them for failing, Smythe Sr. says that it was a trial run and has a better plan. Smythe says that the job was not to capture Spider-Man, it was intended for something else. Spencer then shows Osborn a giant robot that looks like a spider, called the Black Widow. The next day at the Bugle, Felicia Hardy meets with J. Jonah Jameson and discusses plans for a Hardy Foundation charity ball with him. Likewise, JJ is JJ and is stingy about money for the event. Felicia then mentions that she needs a photographer at the charity ball, and Joseph Robinson, aka Robbie, suggests Peter Parker. Peter is outside the office, investigating the pictures he took from those drones until Robbie calls him in. Felicia then greets Peter, and Peter reveals to Jameson that they go to Empire State University. Peter tries to sound very humble, saying it's no big deal, before Jameson comes back at him saying it is a big deal, his name is attached to this event, so Peter must not fail. Everything must go according to plan. And back at Oscorp, Spencer puts the final touches on the Black Widow Spider Slayer. Eddie Brock was also there because Norman and Spencer wanted a reporter to write the story when they capture Spider-Man. Also, Eddie wants to prove to Jonah after the lizard debacle. Norman then reveals that he wants to capture Spider-Man because he believes that he is a dangerous criminal.
Just want Spider-Man captured. He's a criminal.
Yeah, and he's big news, too. I gotta go line up my crew.
I get a bad feeling whenever somebody says I have to trust him.
Spencer reveals to his son Alistar that the reason he's working for Norman so he can build him a hover chair because he wants to provide his son the best things he can, so he doesn't have to use all his efforts to get around. After that, we catch up to Norman inside the Chrysler building, where he meets Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. Osborn tells Kingpin that the Black Widow is complete. Kingpin then goes on to say that if the Black Widow fails, he gets Oscorp.
Whatever happens, you win.
That's why I'm the Kingpin.
Later on, Spencer releases a great number of Spider Seekers into New York City. We are introduced to the character Flash Thompson, but he is quickly sidelined because Felicia noticed Peter Parker, who brought his Aunt May to the party along with them.
This is Felicia Hardy.
Very nice to meet you. Mind if I borrow your nephew for a dance?
Meanwhile, as Felicia and Peter are dancing, we see Flash by Harry Osborn looking on. Flash starts to get angry and cooks up a plan on his own. Flash's big bright idea is to put on a Spider-Man costume he got from a frat party. Unfortunately, a drone spots him from Osborn and Spencer as they mistake him as Spider-Man, which they activated the Black Widow towards the charity ball. Back over at the charity ball, Peter's making out with Felicia Hardy until suddenly his spider sense goes off. Then Spider Flash walks up to him and demands him not to take
Pictures you're
of him
always
anymore.
taking of me. I don't like them. Well, I'm sorry. That's a little better.
Peter still senses danger as Spider Slayer comes crashing in through the roof. Flash runs away while Peter makes sure that his aunt is okay. As the Slayer goes after Felicia, Peter goes into Spider-Man's suit. The Slayer goes after him, and then all the confusion and ruckus, the Slayer causes the roof debris to fall over Spider-Man and knocks him out. The Slayer then captures Spider-Man and brings him to the Oscorp. Back at the penthouse, Jameson and May watch a news report by Eddie Brock who reveals that he has the captured Spider-Man.
The unmasking of Spider-Man.
Flash Thompson.
You know him?
He goes to school with my nephew, Peter Parker.
And as luck would have it, the wrong Spider-Man was caught, as a bunch of soldiers stormed into the room. As it turns out, Norman sent him in because he wants Spider-Man captured, not for the police, but for someone else. Eddie didn't only make a fool of himself, but the Daily Bugle of J. Jonah Jameson for once again taking his reputation onto his big scoop. As Spider-Man knows the location of the Spider Slayer, he quickly swings into action in hope of saving everyone. He has to make it right on time before they think that Flash is Spider-Man, because they still don't think that he's not. Now Spidey has to take on Spider Slayer, and he will do everything that he can to defeat it. Unfortunately, Norman sends his drones to attack him at the same time, which causes the entire place to go up in flames. Spencer Smite is ordered to stay behind as the entire place is on fire, because he had an agreement that he was going to take care of Spider-Man if he has to take care of Alistair. Spider-Man has a chance to take down the Spider Slayer with the distraction of Flash Thompson, as he's able to disable it and sending it into the pit of acid. Meanwhile, outside we see that Alistair is safe.
My father. Did he get out?
But someone who's not safe is Eddie Brock, as Jonah is sick of his antics.
Just wait a minute. Wait, you can't get this bonehead out of here, will you?
He's not the only one, as Felicia breaks it up with Flash Thompson.
Felicia? That's Miss Hardy to you, Buster.
Yeah, forget.
And Peter's not going to have any luck either, as she's quick to point out that he abandoned her and doesn't want anything to do with someone who does that. And as the episode comes to a close, we see that Kingpin has an offer for Alistair to come work for him to avenge his father's death at the hands of Spider-Man. This episode of the series is decent and introduces a lot of elements that the series is going to fundamentally base itself on to make it move forward. However, this is just a nitpick, but to me personally, I didn't like the idea of Spider Slayer. I always thought it was too gimmicky, even when I was a kid. I thought it was an odd thing for Spider-Man to take on, but I get it. The showrunners got it too. Hell, at one point they had him bull riding a machine like a mechanical bull. They knew how goofy as fuck this thing was. And so, the season became a huge success due to the episode by laying down the groundwork and foundation so people could wait because they knew what was coming. And also, it was an action-packed episode that introduces great elements like Felicia Hardy and the Kingpin, where people till this day associate the character to Spider-Man, even though he is a daredevil. And the episode was also a two-parter, as it directly leads into the third episode of the series. So if you have to watch it back to back,